So welcome. So we're going to be continuing our series now in John, looking at 2 John, and the subject here is truth. Now, when I read 2 John, I was really struck by what was talked about there in terms of defending the truth. And the big thing that jumped out at me was, well, what is this truth that's being defended? What is it, and what does it mean? Because truth is a very sort of overused word in our society, and it seems to be one that's bandied around a lot, and especially with some of the recent sort of geopolitical events. We've seen the word truth and the absence of truth and fake truth or fake news, however you want to call it, put around. And it just really challenged me. It just really challenged me to say, well, what is this truth? So I've not put it in the slide deck, but I'd encourage you to have a look at the Bible study. I actually found a really interesting link to a Stanford University philosophy site where it sort of describes all the different theories on truth, which is probably like a 4-hour long presentation just to even glimpse the surface of this stuff. But obviously a lot of big thinkers have been thinking about what does truth actually even mean? And it talks about different ways of interpreting truth and different ways of looking at it. And I'd encourage you to have a look at it, because actually it really opened my eyes, because when I first thought about this, I thought, gosh, this is a really easy subject to tackle. But no, it's not. It's massive, and it's quite challenging. So as we look at truth, though, I think it's also helpful to look at what some other people have said about truth. And I always like what C.S. Lewis says, and I love this quote: "You never know how much you really believe anything until its truth or falsehood becomes a matter of life and death to you." And I think this is particularly important when we talk about the truth of the Bible, because unless the truth of the Bible is actually life and death to us, or we recognize that it is life and death to us, then actually a lot of what we learn about and we look at in the Bible just becomes an academic exercise, or can be quite easily become an academic exercise. So I think it's a real challenge for us to look to what is the truth? What is the truth of Jesus? And that's what is the truth of who he says he is? So in order to help, what really helped me to get my head around what the truth of Jesus is, because obviously I've grown up in a church and lots of truth has been laid into me, but the verse that really helped me clarify that is John 14 verse 6, where it says, Jesus said to him, "I am the way, the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." And this I found really profound, because Jesus is actually saying here that he is the truth. He is the truth, which is very different to some of the concepts that we've talked about before, because he's saying that the truth sits within him. Everything he does is truth. And if you look at what he's done in his life and the things that he has said and the way that he has acted, that is truth. And that was like a real sort of special moment for me, because to suddenly see that again for the first time, in terms of like to read the chapter, but actually to hear that word and get that clarity of, now I get it. The truth is Jesus. It's not an academic exercise. It is what is embodied in Christ himself. So what I'm going to do now is just explore this verse a little bit more, because actually this whole idea of the way, the truth, and life, what this actually means. And we're just going to look at this now. So the way, first of all, is talking about the way to God. And what I've put here is an image of the curtain in the temple. So for those of you that are familiar with when the story of Jesus, at the point of Jesus' death, the huge curtain temple, this curtain temple is reported in the Bible of splitting from top to bottom. And this was a heavy, sort of solid curtain that would have been incredibly difficult to tear or rip. But at the point of Jesus' death, it was ripped from top to bottom. Now, the significance of this is, I'm just going to read a bit from the Bible from Exodus 26, verse 33. And this just explains the curtain. So hang the curtain from the clasps and place the Ark of the Covenant law behind the curtain. The curtain will separate the holy place from the most holy place. So this is the curtain that separates basically God from his people. And what Jesus is saying here, in saying he's the way, is he is the person that enables, he's the one that enables us to actually meet with God, because he has ripped open that curtain that was placed there within the temple. Now, I don't know about you, but I always felt that was a bit of a oh gosh, he's just removed a curtain. What does that why is that so significant? Well, I think what helps is to get your head around how significant it is when you look at the story of, now excuse my pronunciation, but Aaron's sons, of, I think it's Nadab and Abihu. When you look at the story of what happened when they basically disobeyed God's instructions about how that curtain and how the Holy of what that curtain was protecting should be separated. So, and I'll just read to you from Leviticus 10, 1-3. It said, Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, took their censers, put fire in them, and added incense, and they offered unauthorized fire before the Lord, contrary to his command. So fire came out from the presence of the Lord and consumed them, and they died before the Lord. Moses then said to Aaron, this is what the Lord spoke of when he said, among those who approach me, I will be proved holy in the sight of all the people. I will be honored. And what this illustrates is that when there's an inappropriate contact with that Holy of Holies, God was just absolutely beside himself with what we might describe as righteous anger, and these guys were just obliterated. And what Jesus has done here by saying he's the way is say, well, actually, I've now mediated for that, so you can have access to God through me. Okay. So the second part of what John talks about here is the truth. Now, I love this picture. I don't know if the number 42 resonates with you. I don't know if you're any Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy fans here. Well, just to paraphrase the story, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is quite a fun sort of tongue-in-cheek way of looking at stuff. And in that, the world is put forward as a huge computer to try and work out the answer to life, the universe and everything. And the answer proposed by the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is 42. So then the next quick thing is, well, what's the question? So that's kind of tongue-in-cheek play on it. But what we see from Jesus is actually, and the Bible is a much clearer direction of what the answer is, and the answer is Jesus. So John 1:17 gives us a better illustration, as he says, "For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ." So we see this idea that actually the answer is not 42; it's Jesus. That is the truth. That is the truth, and that. What that really looks like, I find really helpful, is this image here. I don't know if everyone's familiar with this picture of the light of the world, with Jesus being the light of the world, the truth, and effectively knocking. What this picture is showing is Jesus knocking on the door, bringing that truth to us, and for us to access that truth, is all we have to do is let him in. And John 1:14 illustrates this really nicely. The world became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, and the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. So we see that beautiful kind of image of Jesus coming as the truth to us. So the final part to this piece on John, though, is talking about the life, and I really like this image because, and I'm not calling Jesus a goon, by the way. I just like the image of this kind of idea. You've got half man, half God, and actually that's not what Jesus said he was. In being the life, he was all man and all God, and because he did that, he was able to be that ultimate sacrifice for us and be the truth that is needed to atone for the sins for the sins of us all, for the sins of mankind. So in John 11:25-26, Jesus said to her, and he's talking to Lazarus' sister Martha here, "I am the resurrection and the life. No one who believes in me will live even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this?" And that's kind of really where I wanted to bring this to a close, because if we believe in Jesus, we we need to think about, if it's just a mental process, we need to think about what we need to put before him. And what I mean by that is, oops, sorry, I've skipped, sorry, my slides are slightly out of order. Excuse me. So what we get there is a choice, and we get that choice of, are we, coming back to that image, are we going to believe in Jesus because he is the truth, and are we going to place everything that's important to us and everything that we're concerned about or troubled by at his feet, because he has said that he is the truth? So where does this end? And I guess this is the question I really wanted to put to you at the end of this short talk. And there's more about this in the Bible study. What do you need to trust Jesus for? It might be for your life. Maybe you don't know Jesus and you need to actually trust him for your life because he is the truth. Or maybe it's for your friends or your loved ones, for humanity and some of the things that we've talked about already in terms of what's going on in parts of the world, for tomorrow, or maybe even for his purposes in your life. Where do you need to trust Jesus today? Or where do you need to kind of ask him to come back in, because he is the truth? He is the truth. This is all about Jesus. Where do you need to put that back to him today? Okay.